fans. You are listening to the Carolina Sports Update on IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for all that is sports. We got quite a bit to talk about today. Going into, I know it's the offseason, but talk a little bit about the Carolina Panthers with a little bit of a look ahead at their draft options. Also got some stuff to talk about for the Carolina Hurricanes making big moves. And we got the Charlotte Hornets with the 3-game win streak to discuss. After that, we're looking at Charlotte FC finalizing their deal with Zaha. And then we'll, of course, get into the ACC basketball wrap-up. Lots is going on there. Lots of ups and downs for our Carolina teams. But we will get into that and talk all about it after a couple words from some sponsors. We'll stick around.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Be sure to check out those guys, those couple of sponsors of ours, Planet Jerky. We're in. There we go. Sorry guys, connection issues here in the back room of my house. All right, check out Vital Apparel. I've talked about them in the past. Really enjoy or appreciate a company that puts a focus on mental health awareness and support. So be sure to check them out and give them a look. See, they've got some really cool gear over there at Vital Apparel. All right, let's get into it here today. Start to get things off. Talk a little bit about the Panthers. Like I said, the intro. We're sitting here in the off season now. Getting ready for some free agency movement to kick into gear here probably in the next couple of weeks. Let's see what Dan Morgan can do there. We talked a little bit last week about some of the free agents that would be out there, where Carolina could go. Obviously, I think still the two biggest like wholesale needs. Although if you look at it, there's a lot of positions to upgrade on the roster here. But for sure, two biggest wholesale needs for this team: defense and a couple more offensive playmakers. I think the offensive line really strong. I think we've got a pretty strong backfield with Hubbard. Be a lot better, of course, if Brooks wasn't injured. We've got, I think, a pretty good tight end group. Not an elite one yet, but I think with a little bit more development, Sanders can become a very good tight end. I think Tremble could also be very good as well. But I think looking at the wide receiver, so that wide receivers we have right now, you could use a little help there. All in all, I would say not a terrible group of wide receivers, but definitely, honestly, not exactly the best group either. Adam Thielen, 30-something years old, leading receiver for this team. That's not going to hold up for much longer. And really, that's not who you want to be your leading receiver. You want a young, dynamic playmaker. That's who Carolina was going after when they drafted Legette. And he has some really nice moments this past season, but also some really kind of poor drops and some growing moments. So hopefully, I mentioned before, I think Curtis Samuel was a guy for Carolina his first year, had some issue with some drops, got himself a jug machine, got out there in the offseason, really worked hard to cut down on those. Came back and was really good. And in fact, was pretty good the other night or last night for the Bills. I know they didn't get the win, but had a nice touchdown reception there in the end zone to pull Buffalo closer to Kansas City. Buffalo with the point after tied it up. But Curtis Samuel really put in a lot of work to get cut back on his drops. Hopefully we see Legette do something similar to that and be able to get those down and become kind of that first round talent I think the Panthers were hoping he could be. But now outside of him, you got Coker, tremendous value, another really good playmaker, some good speed, a bit of a burner, maybe too fast for Bryce Young in my opinion sometimes. That he had that one highlight touchdown in the season where he actually had, well, not even a touchdown, but a highlight deep pass earlier or at one point in the season where he actually had to pull up and wait for the ball to get to him because he was ready to outrun the throw. So definitely a burner there. Some more development to happen, but still you're only looking at like really two stand out up and coming receivers there. I mentioned it before, you want to get a true number one to be opposite where that becomes Legette, and you have a really strong number two opposite him, or if you find a number one, say in the draft or through trade, free agency, and then Legette can be that like exceptionally strong number two. Look around a lot of teams that have had offensive success through the air, and that's really what they've got. They got that 1-2 punch. And in particular, simple example of the Bengals with Chase and Higgins. Fantastic 1-2 punch there. So you get that going on here in Carolina. You can see a lot of really good things. So some upgrade could be done there. And then defense, again, a lot of work needed on the defensive side. So I think you'll see a huge focus from the front office there with some extra, I would say, support on the interior of the defensive line, and definitely going to need some edge help. DJ Wonnum did fairly well coming in off of his injury. Jadeveon Clowney, not too bad, given the fact that he's starting to get older at this point. But again, he won't be around for that much longer. Want to see if he can continue to progress and wait. There we go. Back in. All right. So we'll see how they attack it in the offseason, if they go after offense in the offseason or defense. And I think that will largely determine how they approach the draft. If you listen to a lot of folks coming into this draft, there's a decent number, though not outstanding number of borderline elite playmakers at the top of this draft. A couple of like really good ones, but not quite elite level talent. And then there's a bit of a drop off, but then it kind of plateaus out. There's a little bit of a drop, but then it plateaus out. And there's a lot of a large number of really good players. They're not quite elite, but they were still really good. You probably would consider them like late day one, like very solid day two, like middle of the second round type of players. But those players go pretty deep in this class, especially on the defensive side. Edge is one that I've heard a lot about being deep for the second tier level of talent, not like pretty thin at the top tier level of talent, but pretty deep at the second tier level of talent. So I went in with PFF as one of, I think, becoming one of the better options as far as mock draft simulators go. There's a bunch of other ones out there. You can look them up and find them, track them down and find them. But I went in, I did a couple of drafts. I decided to do a thing here where I'd go in and do 2 drafts. And for one of them, I hit offense first. So I hit the wide receiver early, and then see what kind of defensive ends, defensive linemen would be left in the second round for that second pick. And then what kind of options, offensive or defensive, would be available in that third round for that third pick. For both of them, I think I ended up looking at safeties right about that time. It seemed like a good value, good spot to look at it. There were definitely some other options available, especially on the offensive side. I'll talk briefly about that, but let's go ahead. I'll see if I can get this pulled up here. There we go. Let's see if I did this. Yeah, that looks all right to me. All right, so here's my 2 drafts. On the left there, you can see got started off with offense, and I don't expect this to happen at all. But PFF was feeling gracious. Some kind of funky top 5 picks happen, and lo and behold, Ted McMillan from Arizona fell to number 8. I not expecting that to happen again in my second draft. Went ahead and made this first draft my offense first draft, and drafted McMillan there at number 8. Let's see. Things that I like about Ted McMillan, obviously, big body, good frame, 6'5", 212 pounds. Yards, if you, again, looking at PFF, I like these guys because they do such a deep breakdown on stats. And, stats aren't everything. I haven't had a chance to really sit down and start really like crunching film. I love watching film. I hate the fact that, for guys like us, we have to go into YouTube and find whatever we can find. And 90% of the time, it's all highlights, and you're not going to get any of those. You're not going to get any of the bad plays. You're just going to get awesome plays, and that, artificially hypes the guy up. Right here, looking, just kind of breaking down stat wise. PFS gone really high receiving grade at A5, almost A6 points there. They've got a really high yards per route run, 2.87. One thing that does, or let's look at this too. His grade versus man coverage is also very, very high. A7 is like top of the charts here. Like, you're looking at 90. If you're hitting 90, you're absolute top tier. You're one of the best of the best, elite, like in a while, not just in your class. So versus man coverage plays really well. And that's because I think he's got a great contested catch rate. Let's see, he is 7th. He was 7th on their wide receiver, all wide receivers that they graded with 18 contested catches. So on the one hand, that's great that he can get in there, make those kinds of plays. You see, a year ago, I would not have picked this guy for Bryce Young because Bryce Young just did not throw into close windows. Like he kind of needed a bigger window to throw things through. But especially down the stretch this season, he's definitely thrown into tighter windows recently. I think with that kind of confidence, getting it up there to a guy like McMillan would be great. One thing that does concern me, though, it does have a decent drop rate. It says 7.7%, so 7 drops he had this year out of, let's see, targeted 130 times. He had 84 receptions out of those 130 targets. And so you're looking at 7 drops among all those receptions. So it's not the best in the world. He's definitely much more of a deep yard threat. He's got 472 deep yards. Has caught 6 screens here by their tally, but only picked up 4 yards on those screen passes. So definitely a deep target type of guy, but also a great after the catch type of guy. He's got 29 forced missed tackles. That's tied for second out of all the receivers they graded. So really good, really competitive receiver here. The drop rate does concern me, especially when we've seen guys like Mingo come through, getting back in the day, that kind of thing. Like getting kind of tired of seeing these guys who are like really great athletic profiles, but then have issues with drops. So if Leggett is sitting there working on working the jug machine this summer, the two of them get together and work that machine together and work on those kinds of drops. So moving on from him, next pick I had was Alfred Collins, interior defensive lineman from Texas. Great grades all around, but really strong grades for his run defense. Pass rush grade, pretty good. Not the highest, but still a really good grade there. And then just big dude. I like the idea of pairing him up with Brown, either together on the line or using him to come in and give him a spell. Like I said before, also we're really in need of depth. Once Brown went out this year, it really hurt the run defense, particularly the line as a whole, but definitely hurt our run defense quite a bit. So getting a guy like Collins in there to back up and hopefully eventually kind of start along with Brown would be a huge bonus for this team. And then finally, last pick I had here, 3rd round, went cornerback, worked up, brought some help to secondary. Mentioned last time we're going to lose probably quite a few guys in free agency. So bringing in some rookie help, Zaya Alexander from LSU. Love LSU cornerbacks. They're always strong. He is really great as a zone coverage back. Graded off the charts, a 1.8 there. Man coverage, pretty good. Not the best, but still pretty good. One of the things I liked the most was this past season, he allowed a 53.2 passer rating. That's pretty nice. That's really working it. I think JC Horn, same level, same kind of numbers as far as passer rating allowed. So I would definitely enjoy seeing someone like Zion Alexander coming in, especially a 3rd round pick, pairing him opposite of Horn. All right, so that's what you kind of had. So you're looking at like taking a receiver, hitting that offensive side of the ball early. You're looking at the likes of Alfred Collins, possibly in the 2nd round. I had another guy I looked at was edge from Boston College, Uzamora. Really great candidate if he lasts to the 2nd round. I've run, sometimes just playing around a bunch of PFF drafts, and sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. But if he did, that to me, great option as well. So moving on from there, took a shot at So that meant that my next draft was going to be focused on defense first, and then once again, PFF went wacky on me, I think, and gave me an absolute gem at number 8. And Abdul Carter somehow fell, which, I'll be honest, I do not think is going to happen at all. Like, there's a lot of talk. I don't think it will, but there's a outside chance he goes number 1 at this point. I don't think that's going to happen. I think if Tennessee wants to do that, they're almost better off trading back a couple of spots so they can get him and an extra pick or 2. But in any event, here he did. So obvious no-brainer for me. Draft Abdul Carr to start off the defensive draft. Edge from Penn State. Guy was just amazing and from off the tackle, and he's done nothing but get better. For a lot of people tracking, he started off as an off-ball linebacker, and then this season he got moved outside to outside edge defender, and he has been absolutely amazing. He's done nothing but get better and better every game. Like, you look at his stats here on PFF, they've got great little bar graphs to show you what's going on here, and you just watch. Like, I mean, you literally can just watch his grades just scale right on up as he goes throughout the season. It's incredible to see how he's been getting better and better. So easy decision there. That meant that in the second round, I would be going for offense. In this case, it was Jack Beck, wide receiver from TCU. If you look at him statistically, again, here on PFF, if you look at him statistically, he is almost dead heat with McMillan in a number of categories. Receiving grade is pretty good. His grade versus man coverage, not quite as good, but it's still pretty good. Contested catch rate is actually better, 65 versus 60, although he does have fewer contested catches, 13 versus 18. However, and one other real difference is screen yards, where he's got 32 on 3 screen catches, so kind of low, but made the most of the ones that he got, so averaging over 10 yards per screen. So he's got a little bit of that going. Missed tackles, 17. Not quite as high as McMillan, but one thing that did stand out to me, drop rate was only 1.6%. He had 1 drop this season, so that really stands out to me. That's really incredible. 9 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards receiving. Definitely, I think, a great option there in the second round. Again, if he lasts, you're looking at Carolina, their second round pick is 58, so that's nowhere near the top. But it's possible. But hopefully, a guy like him would last if we decide to attack defense first in the first round. And then finally, I wrapped up here. Again, beefing up the secondary a little bit, this time with the safety, Ohio State. Now, it wasn't really a secondary strengthening in the sense of coverage. Ransom is much more of a run defender type of safety, more like a strong safety, get down into the box and crowd up the box, stopping the run. Coverage grade is good, but not great. But his run defense grade is off the chart. It's 93.5. You're looking at an amazing run defender there. Average depth of his run tackles 4.1 yards. It's pretty good. And then missed tackle rate is not too bad either. Sitting there right about average. But look at him lined up in the box. Let's see, snaps 226 in the box, 490 deep. So he gets down quick to take out that run. So I was focused a little bit more on helping out with the run with this one. There's, I wonder if I could bring it up quickly. Oh, shoot, probably not. There was one other safety that I was looking at for this little drill. Much better in coverage. I'll have to get it to you next time, I think. But another good option there. So, like I said, taking a look at these are sort of just a quick look hit at what type of players would be available. If we went top tier offense wide receiver in the first round, and then some of the, like I said, that second level, second tier of defender in the second round and third round, and same thing, kind of flipping it around. If we went at top tier edge first round, and then took into offensive second tier wide receiver in the second round. One other option I looked at pretty hard in the third round. I don't know if it would be the best, but Travion Henderson from Ohio State, running back at Ohio State, with Brooks almost certainly not playing at all next season, and then being worked in again probably very slowly in 2026. It might make sense to go after another running back and get him in here. Miles Sanders did have a pretty nice game to close out the season, but it would be probably beneficial to pick up a dynamic running back. Henderson, explosive, great speed, really good vision, found gaps very easily. Always the potential to take it to the house. I mean, just like bust out from the line and just outrun defenders. We saw him do it a couple of times during the college football playoff. So I think in the third round, some people might prefer fourth round, but in the third round, if you're willing to use that pick, go out there and get Travion Henderson. Of course, I didn't talk either about trades. I think, and especially sitting at number 8 with who is on the board, like who would be on the board, if McMillan or Carter don't miraculously fall to number 8, the type of players who would be on the board about that time. You might want Carolina to consider trading back and picking up some draft capital before picking up the kind of players that you would get at number 8. Like I said, there's only, listening to a lot of folks, looking at like the bit of college I've been able to see, there's really only a handful, I think, big handful of players who are really at an elite level in this draft. And the cutoff really is right about 6 or 7, right before Panthers pick at 8. And then you get a little bit of a drop off. I think even, you get looking at guys like Jalen Walker. Let's see, defensive wise. Mikael Williams from Georgia. Malachi Starks, safety. If you want to take a safety in the first round, I think that's a little rich, to be perfectly honest. But you look at guys like that. You look at a lot of how these people's mock drafts are shaping up, and most of those guys are getting drafted in the teens. You look on the offensive side. You're looking at Luther Burden. You're looking at Akibaya, the Ohio State wide receiver. Can't say his name right. Makes me feel bad. There we go. That's who the guy was. And there we go. Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State. You're looking at those guys. A lot of those dudes going into mid-teens, sitting at number 8. Do you really want to draft them that high? It might have to. It all depends on who is left on the board that a team is willing to trade up for and give up draft capital to go get. Because if you're not willing to pick anybody there at number 8, as the Carolina Panthers, who basically need help everywhere, then I don't know how many teams are willing to draft somebody essentially for number 8 and then some picks. So we'll see how that goes. I don't predict there will be much of a trade back market, but if there is, then pretty good option there. And let's see, safety that I was trying to think of earlier that I think would be a great coverage safety for the Panthers, again, if he can stay on the board until the second round. Nick Imanwari out of South Carolina. Guys, really good, 6'3", 227. Moves like a defensive back. Had a couple of good interceptions, bit of a ball hawk there going on. Great coverage safety. So if you wanted to beef up the Panthers coverage, then you could definitely look at that. I think especially if you got someone like in the second round, if you look at my first one, that's someone like Alfred Collins, stronger defender, or even in my first one with Abdul Carter. If you got a really elite kind of defensive line pass rusher in the first 2 rounds, somewhere in the first 2 rounds, you get someone like Imam Wari in the third round, maybe. And although now he's being projected first round, to kind of shore up and clean up any of the mistakes or take care of any of the mistakes that defensive line pressures the quarterback into. All right, I talked about this for way too long. We got to get moving. I got to kick it in gear. We got to talk about the Carolina Hurricanes here, who have been busy. Let's see. Let's get switched over. Let me drop this. Change this. Man, I get so excited talking about the draft guys and talking about Panthers. I get carried away and forget that there are 8 other sports I gotta get to. All right, so some Carolina Hurricanes. These guys have been tearing it up over the last couple games. They, with the exception of the last game, are 3-1 in the last 4 games. They have gone on to defeat the Chicago Blackhawks 4-3. They beat the Dallas Stars 2-1 and the Columbus Blue Jackets 7-4. And then their loss to New York, the Islanders, was an overtime loss. So they, even with that, they still got a point with those wins and that overtime loss. That's enough points that moves them up second in the Metro Division. I put them 2 points ahead of New Jersey and 7 behind Washington. A little bit of a gap there to work on to get caught back up with Washington, but I think definitely doable. And one way to do that is to bring in some heavy firepower, and that's exactly what the Hurricanes did. They traded their winger, Martin Necas, who was at the time their leading scorer, and their center, Jack Drury, as well as a second-round pick this year and a fourth-round pick next year to the Colorado Avalanche for Mikko Rantanen, one of the top scorers in the NHL over the past several seasons. I think he's number 5 this year. And really huge move there, showing their commitment to bringing in some offensive firepower and getting him on board. At the same time, they gave the Chicago Blackhawks their 2025 third round pick back. They had acquired that earlier. They traded that back to Chicago in exchange for left winger Taylor Hall, and also for Chicago to help absorb some of the money for Rantanen to absorb some of his contract, which I thought was an interesting move. I always like how each of the different sports deal with these kinds of things, what you can and can't negotiate into a trade. So Chicago is going to help pay for Rantanen to play in Carolina, and then in exchange they get their third round pick back and get to move Taylor Hall, over to Carolina. So big move for them. Touted by like a lot of experts as one of the biggest trades to happen in quite a while in the NHL. So yeah, ESPN gave the Hurricanes an A+ grade for this trade. It does bring in a big over here. I still, I mentioned before, and we've talked about the fact that there's been some chatter that they might be looking for a goalie as well. I think that would definitely help them out. The scoring is great, but you also need to be able to, on those nights when you just can't quite, when the puck's not dropping the way you want it to, you need to have a little bit of defense. You need to have a solid goalie to help you grind a couple of wins out, because those grind out wins, I think, is what really gets you through the playoffs. So great moves there. Hope to see Hurricanes continue to move up the standings. And make a push for the playoffs. I think they jumped. Let's see, I have that stat. They jumped up. Their odds to win it jumped up slightly. Win the whole thing jumped up slightly with it. So should be pretty good move for them in the end. And then you look to saw a report where while they don't have a ton of cap space, they do have enough cap space that if they wanted to, they might be able to work out a deal to keep Rantanen on. That was the biggest problem for him in Colorado. He was holding out for a bigger payday, deservedly so. The guy's one of the best in the league, but Colorado just wasn't willing to commit that much money to him. So they went with this trade. And now maybe Carolina will be the ones who pay for him to play for them. All right, let's move along here. Get into some more stuff. Charlotte Hornets also, man, some good stuff going on in Carolinas here over the last week or so. They have been doing pretty well. I think we talked last time. They had their first 3-game win streak of the season. Then they dropped one, but then they came out firing and really took it to the New Orleans Pelicans, led by as much as 33 points in the fourth quarter. That is their largest lead of the season. They end up defeating them 123-92. And then, unfortunately for them, though, here looking at some of their off-court news, Brandon Miller will be out for the rest of the season. He had wrist surgery done. Knew he was out indefinitely with the tear before. That's going to take him out for the rest of the season, having gotten that wrist surgery. So hopefully he'll be back next season. This guy's, when he's on the court, is one of the best players they've got. It's just a matter of keeping him on the court. He's had his injury problems, so hopefully he can get that healed up, get healthy, and avoid those injuries going into the next season. We talked to you about the fact that Charlotte acquired a pretty decent package of picks for the next couple of seasons, so hopefully put those to good use in the next draft and continue to build out this team and get things going for next year. I think this season I don't see a whole lot of big time, like a big jump, but if they can play well, play strong, finish out the season with a decent enough record, and then go into next season picking up a couple more key players, it's gonna be a fun team to watch and to continue to follow. Their next game will be against the Lakers there in Charlotte. That is tonight at 7 p.m. So when you get done listening to this, go get yourself some dinner and check out the Charlotte Hornets and Los Angeles Lakers. All right. Next up, we got some more news for Charlotte FC. Finally getting their deal done with Wilfred Zaha. Will be coming in to play for the Charlotte FC this next year. He will be on loan through January of next year, so that means all season with the team. Finally got those details worked out, and then there's an option, depending on how well he's playing, to extend him through to the summer, so he could play deep into next season as well. That should be really great. That's really great news for the Charlotte FC. To be able to bring a Premier League player on board, and again, looking to up that offense, kind of offense what cost them in the playoffs this last year, going to penalty kicks with Orlando and losing on penalty kicks. So hopefully this will continue to bolster their offense and they'll be able to continue their upward trajectory. Great young team, brand new to the league, and continue hopefully to make some noise there. All right, I'm going to finally take a break here. We're going to listen to a couple more of our other show, a couple of drops from our other shows, and when we get back, we will check out some ACC basketball play. Stick around, and we will be right back.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at @sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Lava.
And we're the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That give you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Carolina Sports Update on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. All right, make sure you check those guys out over there on Fast Break. They do a lot of great basketball talk. We're about to do a lot of basketball talk as well, but they cover it all. I just cover the Carolinas in the ACC and SEC. I know a little bit of Charlotte Hornets as best I can, but those guys are the experts when it comes to this kind of stuff. So I'll just give you a little taste, and those guys will fill you up with some good basketball. All right. Speaking of good basketball, we're not talking about the Carolina Tar Heels. No, just joking. UNC again, man. We're looking at this team I talked about before. I'll probably be talking about all season long. You're going to get some real clunker games, real head scratcher games, and you're going to get some real blowout games. We talked about last time around when you're looking at this Cal and Stanford games, the shooting percentages there for the Tar Heels, the outcomes. You're kind of looking at a little bit of the same thing here this time around. UNC playing Wake Forest and Boston College. So Boston College squeaks by, or Boston College, UNC squeaks by Boston College, 102 to 96 in overtime. 102. Great news for Tar Heel fans. Free Bojangles biscuits the next day, but not a great way to hit 102. Needing to tie it up and go and use some. Honestly, some pretty impressive, but desperate defense. I thought that was a really good sequence by the Tar Heels there in the final 5 seconds, or just a really bad sequence by the Eagles there with the defense on the inbound pass that Boston was trying to get first with just kind of patting it away, but then are giving up the foul that they had to give to like run off a second, but then with the on an RJ Davis 3, which if you've been watching for the last 5 years now, you've seen RJ put in buckets like that before. So definitely the guy you want to have it. Thought the play was drawn up really nicely. Got that inbound pass to the top of the key with RJ driving in and then a quick pass and shoot for him. Almost got it, but not quite. So it went into overtime. They squeaked out that win. Boston College, though, not a very good team. They're second to last in the ACC, 1-8 in the conference, 9-11 overall. This is a team that a good Carolina team should have just put away early and not had to worry about, but they weren't able to do that. And that's been the concern for many a fan this season, and it just continues on. They did shoot fairly well against them, 56% from the field, 37% from three. But their defense was awful. Allowed Boston College to shoot incredibly well also. So not great there. And then you look a couple nights before that, UNC went to Wake Forest. I knew this was going to be a tough game. I figured it was either going to be incredibly tight and down to the wire or a complete blowout in favor of Wake Forest. I did not see the UNC getting a blowout in this one. They didn't. It was incredibly close. Great defensive effort that night. Wake Forest, not with the greatest offense going, but UNC with a much better defensive effort that night, holding Wake Forest to 67 points. But Carolina, off night shooting, 40% from the field, 25% from three. You see 10-point difference, 16 and 12-point difference from their night against Boston College. So really just kind of epitomizes what you're going to kind of get from this team. Some nights it's going to be great, and other nights it's just going to be a complete stinker. But two of their last 2 losses have been by 1 point each, and then terrible loss to Louisville before that. But just really tough games that they've had to that they've gone down on. So hopefully they can get those tight games back, start getting some of those tight games back. They were like on the other end of those, a 2-point win against NC State. What was that? 1-point win against Notre Dame. Now, hopefully they can get back into that groove and start getting those close wins again. Unfortunately for them, and for most people watching, it's going to be a tall order for them to get into the NCAA tournament at this point. They're 13-8 overall. Losses against teams like Wake Forest is not going to be what does it. Loss to Louisville, not going to get you in there. And definitely not a loss to Stanford. So it's going to be tough. They're going to have to like really run the table coming up, and it does not, my friends, get any easier from here. Let's see. They've got at Pitt, who right now is sitting right below them, 4-4, 13-6 overall. That is going to be a hard game at Pitt. Then they go to Duke to play the number 2 Blue Devils. Obviously going to be a hard one there. Then they host Pitt right after that. And then at Clemson. Clemson's been playing incredibly well. Not ranked for some reason, but they're sitting at 17-4, 9-1 overall. So really good team there. Then you got Syracuse, NC State again. Virginia, I know this is a down year for them, but like just don't freaking like count these guys out. They are going to play it hard. And then you've got a pretty decent stretch before you play Duke again to close out the season in Chapel Hill. So, I mean, they're really going to have, I mean, they can't afford many, if any, losses at this point. I mean, you got Duke twice, Pitt twice, Clemson, always a weird one with NC State and Virginia. It's going to be tough. They're going to have to make a really strong run here and a really deep run in the ACC tournament, like championship